and welcome back to my channel. It's Kaylee of Kaylee Plans, and today I am going to be doing a little bit of a different video. I am a big avid reader, and one of my favorite tags is going on right now, which is the Midyear book Freakout tag. So I decided that I wanted to participate this year. So if you don't know, the Midyear Freakout tag is really just kind of to serve as like a check-in and just kind of see where you are with like where you wanted to be reading wise, where you need to be reading wise, what your goals are, and kind of different things that you've read and experiences that you've had. So it's like 10 questions and you answer them. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video today. Okay, so question number 1 is the best book that I've read so far in 2022. And I've read about 25 books so far this year, and I've only given 5 of them 5 stars. So of those 5-star books, I have decided that The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab is going to be my best book so far for 2022. So this book is kind of controversial. I know that it got kind of famous, I think maybe because of Book Talk or BookTube maybe, but it is essentially about a woman who makes a deal with a god or devil type spirit to be given basically unlimited life on a contingency, right? Because everything in life in magic always has a cost, and there's a reason that she wants this, and you know, obviously because it is a demon, there are always strings attached, and because it's like magic or whatever, there's strings attached, and it is kind of like a longer, more drawn out book, which I think is why a lot of people don't like it, because it's not really super fast paced, and it like this woman, her life, she's almost like a vampire in a way, right? So her life is very long, and this book, I really liked how it kind of found different like points of like the modern timeline to like talk about the things that happened in the past, like led them to where they are now. I did listen to this book in audio version, so I don't have it physically here right now. So I wonder if audiobook kind of influences people's perception of the book, because obviously I was able to put it on like 1.5 times speed it up, and have a really good pace. The audiobook is read by voice actress Julia Whelan, and she does a great job. Okay, question number 2 is best sequel you've read in 2022, and I have to be honest, I actually have not read any sequels for 2022, but it is going to tie into question number 3, which is a new release that I haven't read yet but I want to read, and the book that I would want to read and haven't read yet, and is also a sequel, so it kind of ties into question number 2, is Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by I can't read my handwriting, sorry, Cosimano, and the book, Finley Donovan, is about a woman who is an author who is writing a like murder mystery novel and accidentally gets, I guess, commissioned to be a hitman, even though she like is trying everything in her power to not do this. It's just like crazy things keep happening, and it's crazy. It's like a light murder mystery, so that's why I like it too. It's not too heavy, and so yeah, the second book, Finley Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, came out I think in March, so I haven't read it yet, but that is on my TBR, and it is a sequel that I want to read in 2022 and a new release that I haven't read but I want to read. Question number 4 is the most anticipated release of 2022, and this book for me was The Cartographers by Pang Shepard, and this book is supposed to be, I haven't read it yet, about a map maker who falls out with his daughter and then ends up dead. And basically the daughter ends up showing up at his house, finds this like seemingly, you know, unimportant map, and then kind of realizes, oh, it's actually not that unimportant. It seems like there's somebody like destroying all the versions of this map. We're not really sure why, and the daughter is kind of like tied into it all somehow. And question number 5 is my biggest disappointment of the year, and unfortunately it is a Colleen Hoover book, and that was Ugly Love. I didn't even want to read this book, but I was influenced because of BookTok and YouTube, and so many people like really raved about this book. But even just from the synopsis, it seemed really corny to me. I mean, a pilot named Miles, come on. It just felt like a book that I would have written in like 7th grade of what like I felt like a romance novel would be. It was just chaotic, and I didn't like a single character. I didn't find anyone believable. It was just ugly, unfortunately. And I actually do like a lot of Colleen Hoover's books, so I'm not like a Coho hater. Okay, question number 6 was the biggest surprise for 2022, and for me, that book was Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine M. Valenti, and this book caught me so by surprise. So I heard about it from Books and Lala on BookTube. She really raved about it. She kind of like didn't give too much of a synopsis, but it like was enough for me to kind of be interested in it. And it was a short book, a quick audio book, so I figured, why not, right? And I ended up loving this book. Like, I didn't even really look into what it was about, but it is about this like perfect land, this perfect woman who's like in a perfect marriage with perfect neighbors, and then you kind of start to see all that like facade fall apart, and what like the reality of it is, and best. But if you just read it as a story like it's meant to be, I really enjoyed it. I was so surprised by it. 5 stars. Okay, question number 7 is favorite new or new to author, and this is a new to me author, and I don't know why, like I just have steered clear of this author for a really long time, but I finally decided to pick up one of his books, and actually like one of his most popular books, and I had very low expectations, but oh my gosh, was I like so shocked. So the author that is my favorite new to me author is Nicholas Sparks, and the book that I read was The Notebook, and I've since added a bunch more of his books to my TBR. I think he has like a list in here, yeah. It's like all the other books by him. The movies miss so much that the books capture, and like even aside from the story itself, which you already know if you've seen the movie, the writing was like so amazing. Just the way that he would put a sentence together, like so beautiful. I was obsessed. I really liked it. I would recommend it, and I have a bunch of his other books added to my TBR because his writing was so beautiful in this book. Like I said, I want to go back and annotate it. Okay, number 8 is a book that made you cry. A book that made me cry was If You Kept a Record of Sins by Andrea Bajani, and it's translated from Italian by Elizabeth Harris. Okay, so this book is about a young man who his age is not really like ever explicitly said, but you know that he just recently graduated, I believe, high school, or at least within like the past couple of years. So he's like in his early 20s, I'm assuming, and he is dealing with the unexpected death of his mother, which he like learns was actually like pretty gradual, but because of like events that have happened, he and her haven't really had too much contact, and he starts basically learning about the last like 10-15 years of his mother's life through the people who he meets at her funeral and like while he's dealing with like her business and everything like that. And the book is written like to his mother about different things that he learns about her and like also his perspective of situations. And it's just kind of like a matter-of-fact book. I don't think that he has like any like animosity really towards his mother, but you could tell that at one point he did have a lot of like anger towards her, but he's kind of reached this point where he's kind of over it, but also kind of numb to it. But like I said, kind of matter-of-fact, where he just is just dealing with everything. And I just found it like really captivating and really sad, obviously, because it is about grief and death and, you know, abandonment. Okay, question number 9, is a book that made me happy, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And this book just like was so unique to me. It is a book about a woman who, you know, is kind of at the lowest point in her life. She thinks nobody needs her. She thinks she's almost pretty much irrelevant, and ends up entering this midnight library where she kind of gets the choice of like a second life. And she gets to pretty much like preview each of those lives by like reading a book that she then gets like transported into and gets to like experience what this version of her life would be. And I just found it really captivating. It reminded me different outlooks and mindsets and things like that, and so I just really enjoyed that book. You know, I think that people either really love it or hate it, almost like Addie LaRue. Question number 10 is the most beautiful book that you have bought this year, and that book is S by it is by J.J. Abrams. And this book is like a book within a book. So the book is titled Ship of Theseus, but it's actually not. And this book's really cool because, like I said, it's a book within a book and also a story within the story of this book that's within the book. Okay, and the 11th and final question is books that I need to read by the end of the year, aka my TBR. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have quite a few books on my TBR. I guess I should preface this by saying that I'm only including physical books that I've purchased in this. So all in all, I have 26 books on my TBR list. So let's just say the first book for my TBR would be S by J.J. Abrams. Obviously, I already talked about this book, so I definitely look forward to finishing it soon. The next book on my TBR is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. And it's a big book, it's a puzzle book, it is a horror novel. It's kind of like a trippy experience type novel. The next book that I have also already started is The Heiress by Molly Greeley. But the story sounds so good. So this book is about a woman who basically since birth has been given like this medication. She is an heiress. She's an only child, and she basically one day her father passes away, and she is now the heiress to all of his possessions and everything like that, and the family business and everything like that. And she is for the first time ever like in charge of her own autonomy and decides that she wants to stop taking this elixir. And it's kind of like what happens when the like shield and like the fog that she's been in her whole life is like taken away, and like she finally like gets to live for the first time. The next book on my TBR that I have started reading but haven't finished is 101 Essays that will change the way you think. The next book that I am currently reading but haven't finished yet is A Nail, a Rose by her. It's French, so I know I'm gonna butcher it if I try to pronounce her name. But this book is a book of short stories, just written during like the time of Nazi-occupied Europe and all from different women's perspectives, because I haven't started any of them yet, so I don't really know what all of them are about. But the first one is Letters to Isabella Stewart Gardner by Henry James, and again, I just love the size of this book. It's a book of letters between, I'm gonna assume, two lovers. The next book is Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling, and I think this is kind of like one of those classic authors. Again, just this book seemed pretty good because it talked about like almost like magic and animals and like their mindset. So I kind of wanted to pick this one up. The next book that I have on my TBR is Bunny by Mona Awad. And this book again was because of Books in Lala. I have very similar reading style to her and have had success with books that she's recommended before, and she raves about this book. It is a mystery novel. The next book on my TBR is Children of Chicago by Cynthia Pelayo, and it is about modern day spin on the Pied Pipers. The next book on my TBR is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and this is a classic literature book that I wanted to pick up. The next is another classic literature book. It's an Agatha Christie book called And Then There Were None, and I read King's Jawbone. I was on like this like mystery novels like kick, and I wanted to pick up another kind of mystery. The next book is called Whole, is a translated Japanese book by Hiroko Oyamada, and it is I can't really remember, like about a couple that has to like move to the countryside, and I think that they kind of lose their minds in a weird way, or like you can't tell if they're losing their minds or if like weird things are actually happening to them. It's kind of one of those. The next book on my TBR is Lily and the Octopus by Stephen Rowley. This was a book that my mother purchased for me when my first puppy passed away, and it's, you know, obviously about a girl and her dog, and I haven't been able to read it yet because I feel like it's going to devastate me. The next book on my TBR is Follow Me to Ground, and this is by Sue Rainsford, and I don't remember really what it's about. This book is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, and I just thought this book looked beautiful. Again, it's kind of like got the same kind of vibe that maybe Midnight Library and the Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, in that like there are different timelines. The next book is a children's book, but I just needed to pick it up when I saw it. It was part of like a Barnes & Noble sale, and it is The Borrowers. The next book in my TBR is Margot Moretz Takes It Down, and that is by Carrie McCrossan and Ian McWethy. And this book sounds really clever, like really current and really important. So in this book, Margot is kind of like this tech wizard, it seems like, and she kind of is one of those girls who's like, if your nip slip, dick pic, whatever gets like posted on the internet, or something embarrassing is posted, she goes in and gets it like, you know, completely scrubbed from the internet and things like that. And when she's in the process of removing somebody's nudes from the internet, she discovers a revenge porn site, and like makes it her mission to take it down and hold people the offenders accountable. The next book on my TBR is The Apothecary by Mally Malloy, and this book is about a kid, two kids, 14-year-olds, who basically have to become spies because something happens to their parents. And this book is book 1 in kind of a 3-book series. The next book in my TBR is a book of poems called Inward by Young Pueblo. The next book on my TBR shelf is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland, yes. And this book is about 2 sisters who disappear and then they return with no memory of where they were, what happened to them, and their appearances have changed, and it's kind of got to do with like the mystery of all of that. The next book on my TBR is Meet Me at the Museum. It's another book I believe that has to do with grief, and I'm ready to cry again. The next book on my TBR is The Many Lives of Book People. This book is about a woman who accidentally befriends her favorite author, and then the author gets sick and dies, and basically kind of tells her friend to finish her book series that she loves. And so this is what that book is about, and it sounded really cute and interesting, so I wanted to pick that up. The next book on my TBR is Major Detours by Zachary Sergi, and this book comes across as a choose your own adventure type book. I loved choose your own adventure books growing up, so when I saw this, I didn't even read what the synopsis was. I literally just grabbed it. The next book on my TBR is Shadow of the Wind, and this is by Carlos Ruiz Zafran, and it is, I think, like a historical fantasy type book. My mom has been trying to get me to read this book forever. This is actually her copy. My next book in my TBR is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead, and this book has been all over BookTok, BookTube, everything like that. I don't even really know what it's about. I think it's a mystery type novel, and I am excited to read it, so I picked it up. And the very last book on my TBR is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, a novel by Grady Hendrix. And this is a book about a book club who starts meeting, and they realize that something's off about one of their book club members, that he might not be a regular human, if you know what I mean. And it comes very highly recommended. I picked this up recently because it was on sale, and we'll see how I like it. So that is where I am for my mid-year freak out. Obviously, I have a lot of books to start reading, and hopefully you guys found this type of video interesting. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you want to keep up with this type of content. And that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked it, and I hope to see you next time. Stay safe. Bye, guys.